The cold air inside the military space transport felt sharp against Private Cole Mather's face. As he stepped through the thick metal doorway into the sleeping quarters, something inside him tensed. The room looked too clean, too quiet. The kind of quiet that made him feel like he had stepped into a lab, not a place meant for sleep. Rows of bunk beds lined both walls, each one exactly the same. Perfectly spaced, perfectly made. Except for one. Someone was already there. At the far end of the room, standing beside the bottom bunk, was a tall figure. She didn't move. She didn't look back. Her posture was straight, arms behind her back. Like a soldier. Her uniform was standard issue, same green color as his own, same black belt, same boots. But her skin was lavender. It glowed faintly under the white lights overhead. Smooth, almost like polished metal, but clearly alive. Her hair was dark and short, just past the ears. Not a strand out of place. The back of her neck held small markings that looked like tattoos, but moved as she breathed. Cole stopped near the entrance, unsure if he should speak first. Then he cleared his throat. The woman turned. Her eyes were gold, bright and sharp. They met his with an intense focus, as if she could read his thoughts just by looking. For a few seconds, no one said anything. Then she spoke. "You are my assigned bunkmate." Her voice was calm, almost robotic. But her English was perfect. Cole looked at her name tag. Lieutenant Virel. Underneath it was a symbol he didn't recognize. The insignia of the Usari Alliance. Cole gave a short nod, not trusting his voice yet. He crossed the room, dropped his duffel bag on the bed across from hers, and sat down slowly. He tried not to stare, but it was hard. The Zari were Earth's newest allies in the interplanetary coalition. They had arrived only 2 years ago. Some humans didn't trust them. Others called them heroes, scientists, warriors, peacemakers. No one really knew the full truth. This one, he thought, was definitely the warrior kind. She had the eyes of someone who had seen things. Something about her seemed different too. She didn't feel dangerous, just focused, like she was here for something specific. Like she had a mission of her own. Time passed slowly. Cole unpacked his gear in silence. Virel didn't speak again. She watched him for a moment, then climbed into her bunk and laid flat, arms at her sides like a statue. The lights dimmed on schedule. The soft hum of the ship's engines filled the silence. Cole turned toward the wall and closed his eyes. Sleep didn't come easily. The mattress was too stiff. The room too cold. His mind kept drifting back to the lavender-skinned soldier just a few feet away. Then he felt Ida. Light tug on the blanket over his shoulder. His eyes snapped open. He turned over quickly. She was there, standing beside his bunk looking down at him. Her expression was calm, but there was something else in her eyes now. Curiosity, softness, a kind of wonder that didn't match her earlier stiffness. "You are warm," she said quietly, and humans are perfect for clinging to. Cole blinked, unsure what to say. Before he could respond, she climbed into his bunk. No hesitation. No permission asked. Her arms wrapped around him. Her grip was gentle, but firm. Like she had done this before. Like it was normal. He lay frozen, his mind racing. Her skin was cool at first, then slowly began to warm. He felt the rhythm of her breath, calm and even. Her face was near his neck. Her chest rose and fell slowly, then she made a sound, a low vibration in her throat. Not quite a hum. Not quite a growl. Something in between. It was a perk. Cole's heart pounded harder, not from fear, not from confusion, but from something he couldn't explain. Her body pressed against his like she was molded to fit around him. It didn't feel like an attack. It didn't even feel like a mistake. It felt natural. He tried to speak, but stopped himself. She wasn't asleep. Her eyes were still open, watching him closely, like she was waiting to see what he would do. He cleared his throat again, this time softer. "Do you do this with all bunkmates?" She tilted her head just slightly. "No. Only the ones I choose. Cole stared up at the ceiling. His hands stayed frozen at his sides. He could feel every breath she took, every slight movement of her fingers as they held him like he might disappear. You don't have to be afraid, she whispery, "Direri, don't cling without meaning." Then she rested her head against his chest and closed her eyes. Cole didn't sleep for a long time, not because he felt threatened, but because for the first time since stepping onto the ship, he didn't feel alone. He had no idea what this meant, but he knew one thing: this was only the beginning. Cole woke up confused, warm, safe, surrounded. For a moment he forgot where he was. Then he opened his eyes and saw lavender skin Viral still wrapped around him like a second blanket. Her arms across his chest, her leg tangled with his, eyes closed, breathing steady. She had not moved an inch. Cole tried to shift slightly. She tightened her grip without waking, like her instincts were hardwired to hold. He sighed and stared at the ceiling. This was not in the soldier's manual. After a few minutes she finally stirred. Her eyes opened, gold and focused. She looked at him with no shame, no apology. "You slept well," she said, not a question. A fact. Cole blinked. Yeah. Kind of." She nodded, like she had accomplished a task. "Cleaning promotes stable REM cycles and interspecies units. Physical contact regulates temperature and heart rate, especially with humans. Your biology is ideal." He sat up carefully. "Listen, VIRL. Is this normal for you?" She tilted her head. "I studied Earth culture. Many of your species engage in physical bonding. It is not taboo. It is encouraged. I am simply participating at an efficient level." Cole stood, rubbing the back of his neck. "It's not about taboo. It's just surprising. I've never had someone cling before." She looked thoughtful. "I will review my timing." Before Cole could respond, the door hissed open. Sergeant Darren stepped inside. Human, tough, built like a bulldozer. His eyes scanned the room and locked onto Cole, then dropped to Varel, who was still sitting calmly on the bunk. Darren raised one eyebrow. "Mathers, is there a reason your bunkmate is using you like a human teddy bear?" Cole opened his mouth. Nothing came out. "Sir, it's a cultural thing." Darren grunted. "Right. Yes, sorry, cuddles." Godive walked past, muttering something about needing stronger coffee. Cole turned back to Viral. "Please, don't do that in front of officers." She nodded again. "Serious as ever." "Understood. I will restrict clinging to private quarters only." Cole grabbed his gear and headed toward the training deck. She followed like a shadow, like a protector, and the others noticed. By midday, everyone on their squad had started whispering. The new guy with the alien bunkmate, the one she clings to. Some teased, some just stared, but none dared mess with him because Varel watched everything, and she never smiled during combat drills. She stood silently beside the wall, arms crossed, eyes never leaving him. When Cole sparred with another recruit, she tracked every movement like a machine. When he slipped and hit the floor, she took one step forward, just one, but it was enough to make everyone pause. Cole pushed himself up, gave a thumbs up, and laughed at him. "Good." She stepped back. After drills, he pulled her aside. "You don't have to guard me like a hawk." She looked confused. "You are bonded. Protection is a natural response, not bonded," Cole said quickly. She blinked slowly. "Not yet." He swallowed hard. "What does that mean?" Viral leaned in slightly. "Clinging is stage 1. Cole backed up a step. "There are stages." She nodded. 4, to be exact. Looked around, lower in his voice. "Okay. Maybe don't tell the others that. Just slow down, please." She paused, then gave the smallest nod he had seen all day. "Very well. I will adjust pace. I understand humans require longer timelines. Your species likes to pretend you are not emotionally involved, even when your heartbeat says otherwise." He stared at her, stunned. What she turned and walked away. Cole stood frozen in place, trying to figure out what just happened. Later that night, back in the barracks, he found his bunk already warm. She had slipped under his blanket again. He sighed. "Viral, we talked about this. She opened one eye. Private quarters. No officers present. Rule is followed. You're very literal. Aren't you literal is efficient? He laid down beside her. Not touching, but not stopping her either, and somehow sleep came easier, not just because she was warm, but because for the first time in a long while, he felt like someone was watching out for him, someone strange, someone calm, someone who had rules for clinging, and maybe, just maybe, he didn't mind them as much as he thought. The training hall buzzed with tension. Blades clashed. Boots slammed against the metal floor. Grunts and shouts echoed through the chamber like a war drum. Cole was in the center ring, arms raised, breath heavy. Across from him stood Private Harris. Taller, broader, faster. They circled each other. Neither noticed Varel sitting silently on the observation bench. She didn't speak, didn't blink. Her eyes stayed locked on Cole's every move. This was not entertainment. This was research. Harris lunged forward. Cole dodged, barely, then slipped to the side and swung back with a counter elbow. Direct hit to the ribs. Harris winced. Cole stepped in again, but his foot caught the edge of the mathy, lost balance. Harris came crashing down on top of him. Cole groaned and rolled over. Gasping. Viral stood, no words, no expression, but her posture shifted, hands loose at her sides, muscles coiled. Ready. Cole waved from the floor. Fine. She stayed standing for a few seconds longer, then sat back down later. After the session ended, Cole limped toward the med bay with a bruised shoulder and a sprained wrist. Viral followed closely, silent as always. The human medic raised an eyebrow. You again? Cole gave a weak smile. Guess I'm building a collection. The medic nodded toward Violin. She your bodyguard now? Cole glanced at her. Sort of. More like my assigned guardian alien who really likes clinging. The medic chuckled. You humans bond by accident all the time, she said. Cole frowned. She's not human. Exactly, the medic said. That night, after lights out, Cole sat on the edge of his bunk, holding an ice pack to his shoulder. Viral stood beside him, watching again. You let your guard drop during the third rotation, she said quietly. Yeah. Thanks for the replay. You rely on instinct over form. It is inefficient. Cole looked up at her, tired but curious. Are you here to judge or help? She paused. Both. He shook his head, then leaned back. Why do you watch me all the time? Varel sat across from him, legs crossed, hands resting on her knees. I was not assigned to this unit by chance. Cole blinked. What do you mean? I requested placement here. Why? She stared at him, eyes narrowing slightly. Because you are different. He laughed. I'm a mechanic, son, with average scores and bad sleep habits. Not exactly special. She tilted her head. But you are. Cole frowned, confused how your reactions are faster than most. Your choices are emotional, yet effective. You protect others, even when unarmed. You risk yourself without calculation. Cole looked away. It's not that deep. I just do what I can. Viral leaned forward slightly. Zeri training values control, strategy, precision. But your actions are guided by something we do not fully understand. Emotion. It confuses us, yet we admire it. She paused, her voice soft. Now you feel everything, even when you try to hide it. Cole rubbed his face. That's just being human. Exactly, she said. Then she stood and walked toward his bunk. Cole sighed. Are we really doing this again? She slipped under the blanket without a word. Cole laid beside her, eyes on the ceiling. You could have bunked with anyone. Why? Mesh didn't answer right away. Then she whispered, because you don't push me away. Silence settled over the room again. Cole thought about her words, about how she watched him, about how her presence had gone from strange to comforting. The comforting turned his head slightly. Various. Stage 2. She smiled faintly in the dark. You will know when it begins. And just like that she pressed closer, not out of force, not out of instinct, but because she chose to. And for the first time Cole realized maybe he was starting to choose her back. The sirens screamed through the corridor. Red lights flashed across the walls like angry veins pulsing inside the ship. Cole shot upright in his bunk, heart already racing before his eyes fully opened. Across from him, Varel was already standing, boots On weapon in hand, her body tense but still. Eyes sharp and locked on the door, she turned to him and spoke with calm urgency. "This is not a drill." Cole grabbed his uniform, pulled it on as fast as his hands would move. "What's going on?" "Unknown hostiles. Hull breach detected. Level 3 lockdown initiated." She moved to the door and paused. "Stay behind me." Cole opened his mouth to argue, but the look in her eyes stopped him. Not fernet panic focus. They moved into the hall. Other soldiers were rushing past, weapons drawn. Shouting orders into comm. Smoke drifted from the far end of the corridor. Air smelled of burning metal and scorched plastic. Viral led them toward the engineering wing. Cole followed, trying to piece together what was happening. Then he heard a high-pitched screech, followed by rapid footsteps that didn't sound human. They reached a junction point, and that's when it happened. A blur of black and gray leapt from the shadows. Viral fired first. The creature screamed as plasma hit its side. It crashed into the wall, then scrambled away, vanishing into the vents. Cole froze in place, breathing hard. What was that? She didn't answer. Instead, she stepped in front of him again, her stance lower now. Defensive. "You are to stay close." No hesitation. They moved again, this time faster. Cole's adrenaline burned hot in his chest. Then came another sound. Voices on the radio. "We're surrounded near Cargo Bay 6. Hostiles are adapting. Request backup." Viral stopped. She turned to Cole and handed him her sidearm. He took it without question. Her voice was softer now. "You can run if you choose." Cole looked her in the eye. "Not a chance." She nodded once. Then they went in. The cargo bay doors were already cracked open. Smoke billowed out in waves. Shadows moved inside. Cole raised the weapon, hands shaking just a little. Viral didn't flinch. She charged. The moment they stepped through, everything exploded into chaos. 2 creatures leapt from the ceiling. Cole fired, missed the first, hit the second. It dropped with a screech. The third tackled him to the floor. Its claws scraped across his vest. Pain tore through his shoulder before he could scream. Viral was there. She moved like liquid steel. No wasted motion. She pulled the creature off him and slammed it against the crate. It lunged again. She didn't dodge. She took the hit, then drove her blade through its skull. Silence returned. Just the buzz of the lights and the hum of engine. Skull sat on the floor, chest heaving, blood dripping from his arm. Viral knelt beside him. Her hands moved quickly, pressing cloth against the wound. He looked at her face. There was something different now, not just concern, something deeper. "You are injured," she said. "No kidding." Her voice dropped lower. "You stepped between me and the attack. That was not logical." Cole smiled weakly. "Guess I'm not very logical." She stared at him. Something strange happened. She leaned in, not for medical reasons, not to check the wound. She leaned in because she needed to be close. She wrapped her arms around him again, tighter this time. "This is not stage 1. She whispered. Cole blinked. "You're clinging again." She shook her head. "No, this is shielding." He felt her body trembling just slightly, only for a moment. Then still again. "You didn't have to protect me," she said. "Yes, I did." Why? He looked into her gold eyes. "Because you're not just my bunkmate anymore." And for the first time since the sirens began, she smiled, small but real. She helped him stand, then kept her arm around him as they limped back to safety together. Whatever just happened, it wasn't just a battle. It was a turning point, and both of them knew everything was about to change. Cole sat alone in the medical bay. The lights above hummed softly. His arm was wrapped tight, bruised but healing. The fight from the night before still echoed in his head. His heart felt heavy, not from the injury, but from something he didn't understand. He looked toward the empty hallway outside. Viral hadn't come in with him. She had followed him all the way to the doors, then stopped and said nothing. Now she was gone. He leaned back against the bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to make sense of what he had seen. The way she held him after the attack, the way she trembled for that one quiet second. That was not training, that was not survival, that was something else. The curtain moved beside him. A voice broke the silence. "You look like you just saw a ghost." It was Lieutenant Brenna, human, quiet, smart, stationed on the diplomatic team. She walked in holding a small tablet and a knowing expression. Cole sat up. "You heard about last night?" She nodded. "Everyone did." He hesitated. then lowered his voice. Viral saved my life. Brenna raised an eyebrow. She does that. But she also did something else. Cole looked down at his hands. She clung to me. Again Brenna's smile faded. Did she say anything? Yes, she called it shielding. But it felt personal. Brenna stepped closer and tapped her tablet. She turned the screen toward him. On it was a Zari language document. Then an English translation. Cole read the title: Cultural Protocol, Physical Contact and Bond Phases. His pulse quickened. What is this? You need to read that. He scanned the page. Bond Stage 1. Clinging behavior begins when a Usari identifies a compatible protector or emotional anchor. Stage 2. Shielding. Instinctive physical defense, triggered by emotional risk or romantic exposure. He stopped reading. His voice barely came out. She said it wasn't Stage 1 anymore. Brenna sat down beside him. Cole, this isn't a misunderstanding. Sorry don't cling by accident. And they definitely don't shield humans unless they've already chosen them. Chosen them for what? Bonding. Cole shook his head. No. That's not. We're just bunkmates. Not anymore. He stood, pacing slowly. We've talked. We've trained. She studies me like I'm a science project. That doesn't mean ... He stopped himself. Brenna's voice softened. She didn't choose you because you're strong, or smart, or perfect. She chose you because you make her feel something. Isari aren't used to unsafe exposed alive. Cole stared at the wall for a long time. Later that evening, he returned to the barracks. The room was dark. Only the hum of the ship broke the silence. She was there, sitting on the lower bunk, arms around her knees, eyes glowing softly in the dark. She didn't speak. He stepped closer. You didn't come to the med bay. I needed distance. Why? Because I crossed a line. Cole sat beside her. Was it the bond? She looked at him slowly. Yes. Why didn't you tell me you are human? That's not an answer. It is the only one I had. He looked down, then took a breath. Is it permanent? The bond cannot be reversed, and what happens to me, you are free to reject it. I would not harm you. But her voice trembled for the first time. But it would damage me. Didn't speak for a long time. Then he reached out and placed a hand on hers. She looked at their hands like they were unfamiliar. I didn't know what this was at first. He said, I thought it was weird. I thought it was alien. But now. He took another breath. I don't want you to stop. Her eyes widened just slightly. Why? Because when you're near me, I feel grounded. When you're not, I feel like something's missing. I don't know what this bond means to your people, but to me it means I trust you, and I don't say that often. She leaned into him slowly, resting her head on his shoulder. You are warm again, and you still cling this time. He wrapped his arm around her first, not because of protocol, not because of instinct, because he wanted to, because it finally felt right. Outside the ship, stars moved like rivers of light inside that room. 2 lives had changed forever, and neither of them was ready to go back. The next morning felt different. The ship still hummed under their feet. The lights still blinked along the hallways. Officers still barked orders as usual, but something had changed. Cole walked beside Varel in silence. She didn't cling. She didn't speak, but she stayed close, and somehow that felt louder than words. They stepped into the observation deck. The stars stretched wide beyond the glass. A field of light scattered across the dark like a promise. Cole leaned against the railing, letting the quiet fill his chest. He spoke first. You ever seen Earth from Upper Everell? Nodded slowly many times, and it's beautiful. She paused before finishing, but also sad. Cole turned to look at her. Sad. She kept her eyes on the stars. Your planet is loud. Your people burn through time like it's endless. Your lives move fast and disappear faster, but your emotions, your stories, they stay behind. He watched her carefully. What are you trying to say? She turned toward him. I did not come to Earth as a soldier. That was a cover. Cole straightened up. What? I was sent as a cultural observer. A seeker? You mean a spy? No, I was sent to study your kind before we made formal contact. Cole blinked. How long ago? 2 Earth years. So all that time you were watching us? Yes, but not from a distance. I lived among you. Cole's mind began to race. Where? A university, small, human, rural. I watched students argue about ideas. I watched them fall in love, break apart, get lost in dreams that would never come true. And I saw something no one believed existed in humans' resilience. Cole's voice dropped. We're not special. We fight over nonsense. We ruin our own planet. We don't even agree on what truth is anymore exactly, she said softly, and still. You love, you laugh, you make music, you protect strangers, you create meaning in a universe that gives none. She stepped closer. That is why I stayed, not because Earth is powerful, because Earth is fragile and still chooses to live. Cole's chest tightened. You sound like someone who loves you, do, but not in the way the Yisari expected. She looked him in the eye. They wanted information. I found something else. What hope? And then youth room fell into silence. He stared at her, unsure what to say. She walked to the window again. You were just another file at first, a name on a list. But then I met you. You didn't act like a soldier. You acted like a human. You complained about food. You laughed at your own mistakes. You offered me part of your rations without even asking why. I needed it. That is rare among any species. And slowly you became something more than data. Cole stepped beside her. So what now? You found what you came for. You studied Earth. You got your answer. What happens next? She didn't answer at first. Then her voice came lower than before. I am being recalled. What the Yusari command believes my emotions have clouded the mission. They say I am compromised. Cole felt the floor tilt under him. When soon I was not supposed to form attachment, especially not with one of your kind. He looked at her, jaw tight. And you just accepted that? She looked away. I did not expect you to feel the same. He reached for her hand. But I do. She met his eyes again. And if you leave, then what happens to this? She squeezed his hand gently. Sari bonds are not broken by space, but they are tested. Cole stepped closer. Then let it be tested, because I don't want to forget what we started. She nodded slowly. Then we are aligned. The stars outside drifted silently as the ship moved forward. Two hearts stood still, but their story had already begun to move far beyond them. Orders came at midnight. Cole was still awake. He sat on the edge of his bunk, staring at the folded paper in his hands. His name was printed clearly at the top. Underneath, a line that made his chest tighten. Reassignment approved. Bunkmate rotation scheduled. Alien interaction suspended pending review. He read it again and again. Viral hadn't returned to the room since the message arrived. Not a word, not a knock, nothing. The ship felt colder without her, like something had been peeled away. Cole stood up slowly and stepped into the hallway. Lights flickered as he passed. The corridor felt longer than usual. He turned a corner and paused. She was there, standing at the window in full uniform, her eyes on the stars, not moving, not speaking. He stepped closer. You got your orders too, didn't you? She nodded, voice flat. Yes. Returned a sorry command. Debrief. Emotional detachment recommended. He laughed under his breath. They want you to forget. Mesh didn't respond. Cole looked down at his own hands. They think this was a mistake. It wasn't. She said it was the most real thing I've ever known. He looked at her carefully. Then, don't go. That is not a choice I'm allowed to make. He stepped closer. Then I'll make. ID was offered reassignment. Clean slate. No questions asked. I said no. Her eyes turned toward him. Now why? Because I finally understand what it means. The clinging, the bond. It's not a Zari thing. It's not an alien thing. It's a human thing too. We just pretend it isn't. She didn't speak. He reached into his pocket and pulled out something small. A photo, worn edges. Two kids in front of a garage, smiling. That's me and my brother. He said he died 3 years ago. After that, I stopped connecting with people. Didn't see the point. Didn't want to feel that again. But then you showed up. Lavender skin, gold eyes, no fear of getting close. You clung to me like it was the most natural thing in the universe. And somehow ... It was. She took the photo gently and held it with both hands. Then she looked at him. I don't want to forget you. Then don't. But what if I fail my command? Then fail them. She looked stunned. Cole smiled. You're not a spy anymore, or someone who cares. That matters more than rules. She stepped toward him, and this time she didn't wait. Her arms wrapped around him, not for warmth, not for protocol, something deeper. And this time he wrapped his arms around her too. No hesitation, no awkward pause, only trust, only choice. You are clinging back. She whispered, yeah. I am, and I'm not letting go outside. The stars kept moving. The ship carried them toward unknown skies. But in that moment, Cole and Virel stood still together, not soldier and alien, not observer and subject. Just two beings who found something rare in a universe that rarely offers second chances, something worth holding on to.